3, 2, 1. Bonus episode, baby. All right, look at that. You thought we was done. I didn't hit you with the bonus episode. You didn't even know it was gonna come. So I'm not gonna lie to you. A big starting out initial inspiration to this YouTube channel was Wendigoon. You know, he's a very cool guy, and that's kind of why I did this season 2 with the whole conspiracy theory iceberg, but I just wanted to put my own twist on it. However, there were certain theories that he himself could not find the answers to, so I tried doing my best to hunting those down. Enough yappage, let's get into them. Starting off strong, we have something called Nexus 7, right? Nexus 7, one of the main ones we looked up, was a conspiracy theory about a secret program that the government in the United States was running, right? And it was essentially a mass surveillance program. Now, when it came to this mass surveillance program, the idea was to be able to spy on what they would presume would be terrorists in other Middle Eastern countries. This took place in the 2000s, right? Of course, that makes sense. If there was any time to spy on the Middle East, it was definitely the 2000s for us, right? So what we did is we were using this software, and we were using it to basically, it was alleged that it was supposed to be tracking crazy things to the point that it was going to be tracking, you know, basically all the way down to minute details of how prices affected people's psyches of like just fruits. Like if a fruit went up, you know, I don't know, 50 cents or something, how would that affect your psyche? That's how granular this mass surveillance / espionage software was supposed to be. Now, what gets a little bit more interesting about it is, according to this, we had hired quite a few people to develop this software to instill in these countries, right? And the whole goal, like I said, was to catch and find terrorists. Of course, you know, mainly Osama bin Laden, if not, you know, others that were his lackeys. And we were supposed to be using that software, right? Now, this is where it gets interesting with the whole conspiracy theory. People that claimed to be a part of that project said it was an absolute mess, right? They said it was a mess. Management about it was a mess. And even them trying to create the software was a mess, to the point that it just didn't make sense, right? So they were saying that, like, they got paid, like, I think hundreds of millions, if not maybe, you know, billions of dollars. I can't remember the exact figures, but they got paid a pretty penny to develop this software. And the project never really lifted off the ground, so it never was fully put into motion. And they said that it was only like a few hundred lines of code. And if you've ever done any type of coding, you know that a few hundred lines of code to develop some type of spying software educated enough to, one, predict people's psyche predictions off of, you know, what fruit would do to them. But secondly, they said it was supposed to predict and analyze fear within the people. So somewhere in that, like for example, and I'm going to put it up on the screen, I'm going to show you what a few hundred lines of code can get you during this time period. You see that? You see that? That's what a few hundred lines of code looks like. That's a website. No, I think it's funny to say you could either A, have this weird predictive software that can predict people's fear based off fruits. Not exactly, but you get it. Or you can have this website. It's crazy. So that's what these people were saying. They were like, you know, yeah, the project never fully lifted off the ground, and it was almost like they were getting paid for something, but at the same time, it seemed like it was a front for something else. And that's where the conspiracy theory kind of stops, but that's also what makes it land on the list, is people ask, okay, well, if they spend all these hundreds of millions of dollars to develop this weird, you know, Ultron-ass software, and it went nowhere, where did the money actually go? And nobody freaking knows. I mean, somebody knows, but, you know, Nobody knows, right, where that money went and what it went for and what it was used for, and that's where we sit with Nexus 7. So the next one up is called Protodite, and I'm not gonna lie to you, because I really wanted to do this bonus episode for y'all. This one pissed me off because there is like literally almost zero information about this on the entirety of the internet. It got so far, I don't really know how to use the Tor browser, but I got so damn desperate that I used the Tor browser and I went on those indexed Tor deep web search like directories or whatever to try to search for Proto. I got that desperate to find information. There's not shit really about this. The only thing about Protodite really is at some point the United States government had a website domain that was registered and it was called protodite.gov. But if you go to the website, or if you had ever went to the website, it was either forbidden, you know, access denied, or there was just nothing there. You couldn't access it at all. So people were just curious, like, what does Protodite mean? You know, what the hell could that website have been about? Nobody knows. Somebody knows, but nobody knows. You see I brought that back? But anyways, so I'm gonna look down at my phone really quickly because I thought the only other thing I could do out of this is try to figure out what the word Protodite even means, and I'm still probably wrong, I don't know. But hear me out on this. So when you break down the word Protodite, the word proto is derived from Greek origin meaning first, source, parent, preceding, earliest form, original, or basic, right? So take any of those words you want to out of that. The word dite is from a Latin root word meaning disere, meaning to say or to speak. So the best we could come up with, or the best I could come up with, is it either means the first speak, the first saying, or the first language.com, which opens up a whole other spider web of things because we know the first language as being, you know, Sumerian, right? Sumerian coming from the Mesopotamian society. I don't know if they're trying to say they were going to build out a website of using Sumerian language and maybe they have it fully mapped out and we don't know. Or if they found another language that predates the Sumerian language. And that opens up even more thoughts, because if that's the case, why are they hiding it? And what does that mean? And why can't we know it? Is it that we can't know it because that would rewrite history and that may bring into other elements that they deem would be basically terrible for us to learn? Or, and I've thought about this kooky theory, what if it's some weird wizard shit, right? And like we can't know what the language is because maybe the language is magical. I don't fucking know. But like, what if that was the case, right? And you know, it's like some Harry Potter shit and we can't know the language, or they don't want us to know the language because if it did, it would change the trajectory of what they see as the power balance between individuals and the controlling government. I don't freaking know. We're on the conspiracy theory list. We can talk about whatever. Anyways, that is Protodite. The next one up, we have SN or SEN. SN. I don't know. This one, this whole list pissed me off, bro. I hated finding these so much. I hated it. So one angle is that this stood for something, right? Apparently it may stand for a spiritual emergency network. Best way I could describe it is like, imagine, I don't know, almost like an emergency hotline, but for your spirit. So apparently it's a website out there, and it's like a network of these people who say that if you are in some kind of spiritual crisis, that you can give them a call or email and you can consult with them. So if you call these people, you can get in contact with them for some type of spiritual consultation if you are in a spiritual crisis. And yeah, I guess that's kind of where the theory stops. So yeah, if you're experiencing a spiritual crisis, reach out to the SEN. Why they got a space in it, I don't know. Whoever made this and put this on the list. Okay. Another theory is there is a YouTube channel called SEN 9057, and all of their videos are marked like, you know, basically like adult only or whatever that filter is called. I forget what it's called, but all of them are marked like that. But the videos are described to be something that they call hyper reality videos, and none of their videos are really over like 50 views. So I don't really know why that would be a theory that people thought about, because if you go look at the videos, I mean, I don't know, maybe my spiritual awareness isn't high enough to see, you know, the true vision of what it's supposed to be. I don't know, but I looked at the videos and I didn't see anything that made me be like, oh my God, this is it, this is SEN. It just seemed like a guy just kind of making doodles and making videos out of the doodles, and some of them were a little bit obscure, you know, but some people have obscure, you know, comedy humor to them, and obscure, you know, affixes to life. So it is what it is. But all in all, that was SN or SEN, to the best of my knowledge that I could find on the internet. I hate this video. This one's a little creepy. It's still not much information on it either. There's really hardly any information on these. The best one I got was Nexus 7, and that one was a wacky one. But the next one up, we have something called Arbutus Crucible. And this one kind of started way back in the Gap, on 4chan, of course the X board. And this user basically claimed that all psyops are really meant to just feed the crucible, whatever the hell that means. Yeah, so they say that basically all the psyops, all of the trauma, all of the things and the experiences that we have are all used to feed the crucible, whatever that is supposed to be, whoever, whatever, whenever that is supposed to be. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're all feeding the crucible, whatever that means. But that's kind of the end of that video, or this video. Those were all of the ones we could touch on. If you have any more information about any of those, drop that in the comments, because like I said, F every single one of these except Nexus 7. Nexus 7 was the only one that actually had some meat on its bones. Honestly, I did a video about Nexus 7 on another YouTube channel. I'll try to link it at the end of the video at some point in time. You can click on it. But it was on another YouTube channel I was working on before I branched off and made this solo video. Made this solo channel. But yeah, if you want to check that out, because I go into a lot more detail about Nexus 7 on that one. You can go do that if you care to. But everything else was... bro, it was a struggle trying to find this damn information, man. Like I said, the only other one that I think was kind of interesting, I mean, mean, Arbutus Crucible is kind of, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's just like a random dude posting. You know what I mean? Like, these are so weird on the information. The other one I say I kind of like was Protodite. Protodite was a cool concept. You know, it kind of feeds into my thing that I say about the conspiracy theory iceberg, where I say I think a lot of these will make great TV shows or great movies. You know, instead of all these remakes and things, like, bro, if look at the conspiracy theory iceberg, you can find some gold in this shit. Writing a book or something, you can find gold. But anyways, that's all we got. This is literally the last video for real for season 2. We're done. Season 3 will pick up. Maybe it will be in the same setup. Maybe I will have moved by then. Who knows? We'll see. But that's all we got for you guys today. Hope you're having a fantastic day, fantastic week. And I'll holler at you in season 3, baby. Deuces.